And now we're going to do the assembly, the putting back. So I'm putting my 4 fingers on the gears here. I'm just going to show you there's pawls in here that are a little different. Now the long end comes out, and you put an arrow up here as well and have your long end coming out and your narrow side inside. And if you look, I don't know whether you can see that in there, I'll turn it this way, is the spring. And there's the cross spring, and the other piece comes in and it's looped around the shaft as well. I'm not taking those out. I find them very hard to take in and out, and there's no need to take them out at all. So there you go. So we're going to turn this right way up again, carefully, without losing those pins. These parts from falling apart again. I already had a pawl fall out on this side, because they're really loose now that we've cleaned them. I'm going to take this and put the planetary, I'll hold these 2 pawls this time. There's the gear inside, see, for the planetary system. It goes in here, and this planetary system just goes on this. And once it hits the gears correct, it pops on. And there you go. You can see the gears turning. I got to be very careful not to lose this. You can see the gears turning inside, so everything is working. We're just on the outside there, see them? I just got to make sure I don't lose any pawls out of the system again. There we go. Now those gears should turn. There we go. Now my biggest thing was I put it in up like this, and all the pawls fall out. So I'm going to put it sideways this time and try it. Nice and carefully. Putting it in. And I'm going to put this on the other side quickly and see if it worked. As you can see, I'm putting that on quickly. And we're going to do this again. And should work. Put it in the system this time. I don't think anything fell out at least. There we go. I've taken off the cap here. And I've got to put in the pin and the gear shifter before I go any further, really. Otherwise it gets caught, as we've seen. So okay, let's go back a little bit. We're going to put in this with the indentations up. I'm going to zoom in a little on that. There, and we're going to, there we go. So I'm just going to do this again. This has a collar, and has a right little collar on there. That light collar goes down, goes through the center with the little hole there for the pin, and there's the indentation. That goes on the shaft, and as you can see, it goes where those cogs, remember them, I said to keep the step of the cogs up. That's because that's where they go in here. They fit in here like this. And now this famous pin goes through the center of this shaft and through the hole on the collar. And these little steps in the pin must face up. So that would be the next step. There it is, facing up. And the reason those 2 steps face up is this next collar that's in line here. Oh, you can't see that. Let's get out. This next collar that's in line here, let's go back in, has a little step in it for that pin so it doesn't shift and fall out. So you turn that upside down so that cutout is in, and you put it on that little collar there. Right? It should fit on quite smoothly. And if it doesn't, try it the other way around. Sometimes they're like that. No, that's a little tough there for some reason. There we go. It fits on nicely. And see, it's locked the pin in place. If you look here, this pin can't fall out anymore because this collar holds it. And this is needed because when you're doing this pin in here later on to do the gear shifter pin, it's always center, so it's easy to find and screw in. And then we're going to go back here, and the next thing we had to put on there was the washer. Right? And then we had to put these two together first, so the pawls go in here. And see that click happens. You'll have to make sure that's working. And now I'm going to try again to drop this all in there and see if it works better. I'm having difficulties with this thread here, see? Gotta wipe my hands. I think I got it. It's very hard to tell. You know if you get that clicking that you got it. I had to hold this inside up a little with the pliers like that so that the pawls didn't fall out. But I've got it working. And it's screwed right down, which is great. And now this bearing unit actually can go over top. This goes into the couplings down here that you saw below. And they make actually geared shifts. So you just pop this over the spring and it goes down into that T section, or that cross section below. You can hear it clicking, and when you go back it locks. So there you go. So we're there, that's getting close. See, we have our nuts here all lined up, and it was the square nut next. Now on some of them they have a little washer that goes on here, and this one doesn't. I have no idea why. It's kind of like a little washer that bends over it. Maybe someone had this open before, but some of them have a little washer that goes over the spring, which I kind of prefer, but this one doesn't have it, so I'm not going to change it. It was running before, so it'll run again. So that's actually the collar for the bearing, which I'm putting in now. Usually go so tight that it hardly turns and you back off a little. And if you put your shaft in the vise, you can feel if there's a play in the, see the bit of play there? You want to go a little tighter than that. It's got to spin. Now you can feel it grindy, but you want to back off a little. And then you take, now that you got that in, you take this little square that locks it in and you put it down, which I've got perfect at the moment. Look at that. And then you put this screw on top, and once you get the screw on top, the insides are kind of locked in. This screw's giving me a little problems. If you think this is a little too loose still, you can always unscrew this and just adjust a bit more. You can also adjust it from the other side a little bit. But you want to have the shafts doing their own locking on each side because they're meant that way. Now we're going to lock this up pretty tight. We have good spin on it. I mean, it'll loosen out a bit. It doesn't have any wobble sideways. Spins lovely straight. And there's a shifter. We're running out of space. I don't know why. Maybe because I got it too far over on that side, so we'll have to adjust it. If this is a little loose, you can still adjust on the other side. Because I had to pull this shaft out. You have to adjust the shaft so you have enough shaft here to put on. I put on the lock nut. So I've loosened this all up and pulled and screwed this out, this other side here. And given myself more shaft here to put it on the forks. And here's the washer goes on. And this is a lock for going into the back wheel, into that slot so it doesn't turn away. But, you know, it's a little bit overkill. And then we have the lock nut. So there you go. And we got tons of room to get our fork, or our back fork in here and lock it up. And here comes the cap of it all. So that's this side. As you can see, all the parts are gone. Done, except for we're back here to this, which was the oil cap, right? Which I've cleaned. That goes on, it's kind of like an oil cap. It's a dirt cap to stop the dirt going into the hub. And then we have a washer. Remember we stacked these up earlier on. I'm going to go through that again, just to make sure we got that and everybody sees it. You have the dust cap, or the dirt cap, stop dirt going in here, more or less. It's not perfect. A washer on top, it's a spacing washer. Then we have our sprocket, which has indents and only goes really one way. Then we have a washer, and then we have our lock spring, which is always fun to put on. Usually you get one side on, then the other side can go on. I better tighten that up a bit more. There we go. Where is the spacer there? We can do it there, I think. I usually try to press one side on, but it doesn't always work that way. Ooh. Just forcing this on here. It's really close. That's one side. Once you get the one side on, it's usually good. Now, let's zoom in a little. Now we can see if this works. Everything's a little tight. I might loosen up just a little bit. I might be able to do that from this side a little. Put this in the sprocket though too. You spin this, it ratchets. Let's do it. The lower part ratchets if you spin it, and the top part ratchets if you spin it. You want to hear a nice sound out of those two things. Now I might be a little bit loose, but we still have this side to do, which we'll put up and over. Now you can really see there isn't much movement in this. So let's just lock it. And then, you know, you back off just a little bit once it's too tight. I mean, everybody thinks moving still pretty good, but once your sprocket starts stiffening up, you want to loosen off a bit. You don't want to have any sideways movement on this now. I mean, I don't even want it in the vice grip to try it, so, but sometimes you have to. So let's put it in this way a sec. Let's see how it spins again. Yeah, this gear is locked up a little, so it's too tight. Now I've given it a little bit of a loosening with my hand, and we'll put it back in and see if it spins nicely before we do anything. That's what you want to see. And now we're going to put on, flip it around, and just put on the rest of the stuff. Right? There's a washer. I remember this was tight. Problematic. It sure is. Doesn't even fit on it. So here's something strange. I took the next washer in line on this side, and it won't fit. And it was fitting before, so I don't know what happened. I filed it a bit, it still won't fit. So I'm going to look for a washer. It's close to the seam and put it on there. Just to finish this up, I'm going to take this off so I can put it in the vise on the side of those threads there. So I can tighten the other side. Like that. Just for the couple of minutes. Now this washer didn't go on for some weird reason, so I'm putting this other one on. It doesn't really matter. You know, a lock nut goes over this anyways. Oh, I'm having an interesting thing with the ends of the shafts have been knocked around just a little bit. Sometimes you might have to file those off a little, just the edges a little, and clean them to make sure your threads go on correctly. Now we're nearly done. I'm just putting this on. You can see I'm just screwing this down, and we're going to tighten that up. That was a bit too much. The other one turned a little, see, so I need a thin little wrench to go in there to tighten that. Sometimes you can do it by just wedging something here, right, and stopping that from turning just a little. It did it again though. That's pretty smooth. I gotta watch these washers don't come off down here. And I put this back on. And if I pull out a little, you'll see up here I only have these nut and bolts left. And that's where the fork goes into. A little different to the other one for some reason. And you know, the very end thing is you put your gear shifter, let's get this up here. The very end thing you do, I've got this bolt on the other side there. I'm just going to put it in here to hold it so you can see. The very end thing you do is you take your gear shifter and you put her back in. And you just twiddle the top and it will screw in, amazingly enough. And she'll catch, there she goes. And you know, if you tighten up a bit, you can tell when the gears are shifting a bit. You can hear them inside. There's a click. You can feel it pull up too, some of the air pulled up. And adjusting this, you do this after you get it on the bike, once you get the cables and everything in. There you go. There's the Sturmey Archer back together. Remember, this has to click really nicely. A little tight still, we can do a little bit of loosening here. But it's not bad. And then your shaft, of course, has to turn nice and freely. Look. So this one has to click. And then when you hold your shaft, this will click too. You can hear it inside there. And then this will click. I'm just a tad tight, but not very much. So you just take a little thinner spanner and loosen it out until you get it a bit right. But more or less, you know, she's lovely. All I need is the oil. All I need now is the oil nipple in here. We're a bit tight here. Let's go out a little. All I need now is the oil nipple and we're finished. Nice. You know, not much room for play, which is great. I can do a little adjustment, but there isn't much adjustment in this. I would say that's a completion of your 1960 Sturmey Archer hub. Thanks for watching.